Welcome back, coin hunters. Today, we're looking at a fascinating Lincoln Wheat Penny that could attract serious attention from collectors and potentially be worth far more than its 1 cent face value. These historic US pennies are among the most popular coins searched by collectors, and the right date, mint mark, variety, or condition can make a dramatic difference in value. So before you spend or overlook an old Lincoln Wheat Penny, make sure you know what you're holding. In this video, we'll explore its history, unique features, collector demand, and today's market value. Stay with me until the end, because one small detail could be the key to identifying a truly special coin. Let's get started. First up, the 1927 Lincoln Wheat Penny, with no mint mark, is one of those historic American cents that can instantly capture the attention of collectors, because it carries nearly a full century of US history in a tiny copper coin. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this penny does not show a mint mark because Philadelphia cents of this era were produced without one. In 1927, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 144.44 million Lincoln cents, making this an important and widely recognized date in the Wheat Penny series. The coin contains the classic Victor David Brenner portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the famous wheatear reverse design that gave the series its popular name. Even though the example featured in this video is described as being in very rough condition, its age, historical character, original design, and place in the early Lincoln cent series make it an interesting piece for collectors and treasure hunters. Today, the 1927 Philadelphia Lincoln Wheat Penny remains a coin worth examining carefully, because condition, originality, color, strike quality, and professional grading can dramatically influence what collectors are willing to pay. When we look at the history behind this coin, we are looking back to a remarkable period in American history. The Lincoln cent had already become an important part of everyday American commerce, and the wheat reverse remained one of the most recognizable coin designs in the United States. The 1927 issue belongs to the classic early era of Lincoln wheat cents, a period that is especially attractive to collectors who appreciate coins from the 1920s. The no mint mark designation is also historically meaningful because it immediately identifies the coin as a Philadelphia product. The specifications are equally fascinating. The 1927 cent is approximately 19 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 3.11 grams, and was made from a bronze composition of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. These details give the coin a distinctive historical identity and help collectors authenticate and identify examples correctly. When a collector holds a 1927 wheat penny, they are not simply holding 1 cent, they are holding a surviving piece of the United States monetary system from nearly 100 years ago. One of the most important features to examine is the absence of a mint mark. On a 1927 Lincoln cent, the area beneath the date is where collectors look for the mint designation, and when no letter appears there, the coin is identified as a Philadelphia issue. That detail should not automatically be confused with an error or missing mint mark, because Philadelphia cents of this period normally carried no mint letter. The obverse presents Lincoln facing right, surrounded by the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, while the reverse displays the two wheat ears surrounding 1 cent and United States of America. For collectors, the combination of the 1927 date, Philadelphia origin, classic wheat reverse, and surviving original details creates the coin's recognizable identity. Even a heavily worn example can still be fascinating, because every surviving mark of circulation tells part of the coin's long journey through American history. The more clearly the date, lettering, Lincoln portrait, and wheat ears remain visible, the more confidently collectors can study and evaluate the individual piece. Now comes the question that makes viewers especially curious. How much could a 1927 no mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny be worth today? The answer depends heavily on its actual grade and preservation, and this is where the market becomes especially interesting. Current reference data shows that ordinary circulated examples can trade for relatively modest amounts, while higher-grade uncirculated pieces can move into the hundreds of dollars, and exceptional certified specimens can reach well into the thousands. Price charting currently lists approximately $12 for VF, $14 for AU, about $70.93 for MS64, around $127 for MS65, and approximately $730 for MS66, while higher grades can move substantially beyond those levels. Recent public sales also demonstrate the premium for exceptional examples. A 1927 MS66 red NGC example sold for $378 in August 2026. Another MS66 red PCGS example sold for $561, and a remarkable MS66 red PCGS CAC example reached $976 in July 2026. The really exciting part of the market is what happens when a 1927 cent reaches extraordinary preservation and receives a top professional grade. A normal heavily worn example should not automatically be advertised as a $1,000 coin, but the upper end of the series demonstrates why collectors carefully examine every specimen. Public auction records show that elite 1927 Lincoln cents can bring thousands of dollars, with a 1927 MS67 plus red PCGS CAC example selling for $4,080 in December 2025. Even more dramatically, a 1927 MS68 red PCGS example sold for $40,800 in January 2025. These extraordinary results belong to coins with exceptional preservation and professional certification, not ordinary rough pieces, but they show the powerful ceiling that exists for truly outstanding examples. That is exactly why a collector examining an old 1927 penny should never judge its potential simply from its appearance at first glance. For the rough condition 1927 wheat penny featured in this video, the greatest appeal is its authenticity, age, and collectible story, rather than assuming an enormous price simply from the date. Heavy circulation can remove much of the original detail from Lincoln's portrait and the wheat ears, and that normally places a coin into a lower market category. However, the coin can still be desirable to collectors building a complete Lincoln Wheat Penny date set, to beginners assembling a collection of 1920s cents, or to enthusiasts who simply enjoy owning genuine historic American currency. A rough 1927 Philadelphia cent can be an excellent reminder that rarity and value are not determined by age alone. The strongest market prices generally appear when an example combines the right date with outstanding preservation, attractive color, strong detail, originality, and credible certification. This makes every 1927 penny worth examining rather than automatically dismissing it as an ordinary old coin. Another reason this coin remains fascinating is the enormous difference between a heavily circulated specimen and a spectacular high-grade example. The market does not treat every 1927 penny equally, and professional grading can make the difference between a modestly priced collectible and a premium numismatic piece. Collectors pay close attention to remaining detail, surface quality, original color, luster, strike characteristics, and signs of cleaning or damage. A coin that has spent decades protected from circulation may preserve details that are almost impossible to find on an everyday worn example. That is why high-grade 1927 cents can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars, while heavily worn examples remain much more affordable. Current public market data supports this widespread, with ordinary grades far below the prices achieved by exceptional certified pieces. So if you have a 1927 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark, do not overlook it simply because it looks old, dark, scratched, or heavily circulated. First confirm the date, examine the area beneath the date for the expected absence of a mint mark, study both sides under good lighting, and look carefully at the remaining details. If the coin appears unusually well preserved or has characteristics that stand out from typical examples, professional authentication and grading can provide a much clearer picture of its collectible status. The 1927 Philadelphia Wheat Penny is a genuine piece of early 20th century American history, and its market demonstrates just how dramatically condition can influence value. With reference values ranging from modest amounts for circulated examples to hundreds and thousands for superior certified pieces, and exceptional auction results reaching far beyond that, the 1927 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny continues to give collectors an exciting reason to check old collections, inherited coin jars, and forgotten albums. And that is what makes the 1927 Lincoln Wheat Penny such an exciting coin to feature. It combines age, history, classic American design, Philadelphia production, collector demand, and a market where condition can create enormous differences in price. The coin may look like only one small cent, but nearly 100 years of American history are represented in its design and surviving surfaces. While a very rough example should not be presented as automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, the broader 1927 market proves that exceptional specimens can attract serious collector attention and substantial auction prices. The best approach is to treat every genuine 1927 wheat penny as a piece of numismatic history first, and then evaluate its grade, originality, color, and certification carefully. Current market figures are reference estimates and recent auction examples, not guaranteed selling prices, because actual value can change with grade, certification, surface quality, color designation, authenticity, buyer demand, and the specific auction. But one thing remains certain. The 1927 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a fascinating survivor from America's classic wheat cent era, and for collectors searching through old coins, that tiny date can be the beginning of a much bigger treasure hunt next up. The 1953 Lincoln Wheat Cent is a fascinating piece of American history, and in today's collector market, examples with outstanding preservation can attract considerably more attention than an ordinary circulated penny. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint during an important period in United States history, and its classic wheat reverse makes it instantly recognizable to collectors. The 1953 issue had a substantial mintage of about 700,515,000 pieces, so the real excitement today is not simply owning a 1953 penny, but discovering an example with exceptional preservation, attractive color, strong detail, or a particularly high certified grade. The history behind this penny makes it even more interesting. The Lincoln cent had already become one of America's most familiar coins by 1953, carrying Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the two wheat ears on the reverse. These wheat cents were produced from 1909 through 1958, creating one of the most popular collecting series in American numismatics. A 1953 therefore belongs to the final decade of the classic wheat penny era. When you hold one today, you are holding a coin connected to the everyday commerce of post-war America, a period when 1-cent pieces were an essential part of daily transactions. The bronze composition, traditional design, and Denver, D. Mint mark give this coin a combination of historical character and collector appeal that continues to make it an interesting target for wheat penny enthusiasts. One of the most important details to check is the small d, located beneath the date on the obverse. That tiny letter identifies the Denver Mint and separates the 1953 D from the Philadelphia and San Francisco issues of the same year. The coin itself is made from bronze and has the traditional 19mm diameter and approximately 3.11 gram weight associated with this era of Lincoln cents. On the front, Lincoln's portrait dominates the design, while the reverse displays the famous wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. The motto EPLUIBUSUNUM appears above the central design. These details may seem familiar, but for collectors, sharp lettering, strong wheat lines, clean surfaces, and attractive original color can dramatically increase the desirability of an individual example. Now comes the part that makes a 1953 wheat penny especially exciting for collectors: condition. An old coin can be common in worn grades while becoming much more desirable when it survives in exceptional preservation. A heavily circulated 1953 may show noticeable wear across Lincoln's hair and cheek, while the wheat ears on the reverse may have lost some of their original detail. But when a coin survives with minimal wear, strong luster, crisp design details, and attractive original surfaces, the story changes. Certified mint state examples are where the market becomes particularly interesting. NGC's current auction data for the 1953 shows recent sales ranging from roughly $100 to more than $500 for selected high-grade examples, including a 1953 graded MS65 red selling for $109 and an MS67 red selling for $231.80 in June 2026, while another MS67 red example realized $512.40 in March 2026. The color designation is another fascinating part of the collector market. Lincoln cents are commonly categorized as brown, red-brown, or red, depending on their preserved surface color. A coin retaining attractive original red coloration can be substantially more desirable than an otherwise similar circulated example. This is why two 1953 pennies that look similar at first glance can have very different collector values after professional examination and grading. Auction records show just how strongly condition can influence the market. NGC lists a 1953 MS64 brown example that sold for $20 in 2011, while high-grade red examples have brought several $100s. For a collector searching through an old coin collection, this creates the possibility of an exciting discovery because the value is determined by the specific coin's grade, preservation, color, and market demand rather than the date alone. When we talk about the current market value in 2026, it is important to understand that there is no single price for every 1953D Lincoln Wheat Penny. A circulated example can remain a modestly priced collectible, while a sharply preserved, professionally graded example can move into the hundreds of dollars. The strongest certified pieces are the ones that deserve the closest attention. NGC's auction records currently show an overall average price of $181.88 for the 1953D in its MS auction dataset, with a one-year average of $269.64, although individual results vary significantly by grade and color designation. This means that a truly exceptional 1953D should never be judged simply by looking at the face value of 1 cent. The collector market is driven by scarcity at specific grades, quality, eye appeal, certification, and competition among buyers. And here is where the hunt becomes truly exciting. If you have a 1953D Lincoln Wheat Penny sitting in an old collection, coin jar, inherited box, or forgotten album, give it a careful examination before making any decision about its value. Look closely at the date, confirm the D mint mark, examine Lincoln's portrait, study the wheat ears, and pay attention to the surfaces and original color. Avoid cleaning the coin because improper cleaning can damage the original surfaces and reduce collector appeal. The most desirable discoveries are not necessarily the coins that look perfect at first glance. They are the coins that combine the correct date and mint mark with exceptional preservation and qualities that stand out under proper examination. A professional grading service can be especially useful when a coin appears to have significant potential, because certification provides an independent assessment of condition and authenticity. So the 1953D Lincoln Wheat Penny is much more than an old 1-cent coin. It represents an important chapter in the history of American coinage, carries the famous Lincoln wheat design, and offers collectors an intriguing opportunity to search for quality and rarity within a major U.S. coin series. With more than 700 million struck, the date itself is not enough to make every example rare, but the highest quality survivors can command strong collector interest and auction prices reaching into the hundreds of dollars. Documented 2026 auction results demonstrate that exceptional certified examples can bring several $100s, while the broader market remains highly dependent on grade and designation. So before you spend, trade, or overlook an old 1953D wheat penny, take another look. That tiny D, the condition of the surfaces, the strength of the design, and the preservation of its original character could make the difference between an ordinary old cent and a genuinely exciting collectible discovery. Next up, the 1955D issue has an interesting place in Lincoln wheat cent history, especially when the coin is preserved in a strong grade. The Denver Mint produced 563,257,500 examples of the 1955D Lincoln cent, making it a widely produced issue, but truly attractive, sharply preserved examples from this period can still attract serious collector attention. The coin was struck from the traditional bronze composition of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighs about 3.11 grams, and measures 19 millimeters across. For collectors, the story becomes much more exciting when a 1955D penny survives with strong detail, attractive surfaces, and a clearly identifiable Denver Mint mark. The history behind this coin makes it even more fascinating. The Lincoln cent had already become one of the most recognizable American coins by 1955, carrying Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the classic wheatear reverse that gives the series its popular name. By the middle of the 1950s, millions of Lincoln cents were circulating throughout the United States, passing through stores, banks, vending machines, pockets, drawers, and countless family coin jars. A 1955D therefore represents more than just 1 cent. It is a small surviving piece of everyday American history from a period when the country was rapidly changing. The Denver Mint struck more 1955 Lincoln cents than Philadelphia or San Francisco that year, and the tiny D beneath the date identifies the Denver origin. That little mint mark is one of the first details collectors should check when examining a 1955 penny. One of the most important features to examine is the overall quality of the coin. A 1955D in very fine condition can retain considerable detail from its original design even though it has experienced circulation. Collectors will look carefully at Lincoln's hair, cheek, jawline, coat details, the date, lettering, and the wheat ears on the reverse. The surfaces are also extremely important because scratches, discoloration, corrosion, cleaning, and other problems can influence how a coin is evaluated. At the same time, a beautifully preserved example can become much more interesting to collectors as the grade rises. Professional grading services specifically distinguish between circulated grades and mint state grades, while color designations such as brown, and red can also have a major impact on high-grade Lincoln cents. NGC, for example, lists substantially different values for 1955D cents depending on their mint state grade and color designation. Now comes the part that makes the 1955D Lincoln Wheat Penny especially exciting for collectors. Condition can completely change the financial story. A normal circulated very fine 1955D should not automatically be described as a hundreds or thousands of dollars coin. Current reference sources place ordinary circulated examples at relatively modest values. For example, USA Coin Book's February 2026 guide lists the 1955D around $0.12 in very fine and about $0.14 in extremely fine, with higher values for uncirculated grades. But that does not mean collectors should ignore a 1955D penny. Quite the opposite. The real opportunity is recognizing whether an apparently ordinary coin has unusually strong preservation, a valuable color designation, a recognized variety, or an exceptionally high certified grade. This is where careful examination can separate a common circulated coin from a genuinely desirable collector piece. The high-end market demonstrates just how dramatic that difference can become. Professional grading records show that exceptional 1955D Lincoln cents can command prices far beyond ordinary circulated examples. PCGS records an $8,400 auction result for a 1955D Lincoln cent graded MS67 plus red, sold by Heritage Auctions on August 18, 2024. NGC's price information likewise shows that high-grade red examples can reach into the four-figure range, with its listed mint state range for the 1955D red designation extending as high as $1,350. These figures show why collectors pay close attention to condition. The difference between a circulated penny and an extraordinary certified red example can be enormous, and the very best pieces can enter a completely different level of the market. There is another fascinating reason the year 1955 receives so much attention from Lincoln cent collectors: the famous 1955 double die obverse. However, it is essential to understand that the famous double die variety is associated with the Philadelphia 1955 issue rather than automatically applying to every 1955D penny. The 1955D series does have recognized varieties, including double die and repunchment mark varieties, and PCGS catalogs these separately. This means that anyone examining a 1955D should pay attention to the date, lettering, mint mark, and overall strike rather than simply assuming that every 1955 penny showing unusual doubling is the famous variety. For a collector, accurate identification is part of the excitement because a genuine recognized variety can carry a different market profile from a standard example. The market today rewards knowledge, patience, and exceptional preservation. Current reference information shows a wide range for 1955D cents depending on grade, color, and variety. Graysheet currently lists ordinary 1955D mint state examples in brown, and red categories at very different levels, while its listings for recognized 1955D double die and repunchment mark varieties show additional premiums. PCGS also describes the 1955D as particularly challenging in the highest grades, noting that examples at MS66 and above are difficult to find, and that MS67 pieces are especially scarce. This is exactly why a collector should never judge a 1955D only by its age. The combination of grade, eye appeal, color, variety, certification, and auction demand determines whether the coin remains a modest collectible or becomes a much more valuable piece. So if you have a 1955D Lincoln Wheat Penny in very fine condition, take a close look before dismissing it as just another old penny. Check the date carefully, confirm the small d mint mark, inspect Lincoln's remaining details, study the wheat reverse, and examine the surfaces under good lighting. If the coin appears unusually sharp or has characteristics that suggest a higher grade or recognized variety, professional authentication and grading may be worth considering. The biggest lesson is that a 1955D does not become valuable simply because it is old. Its potential comes from the specific characteristics of that individual coin. While an ordinary very fine example generally has a modest market value, exceptional certified examples have demonstrated hundreds to thousands of dollars in collector market potential. including an $8,400 recorded auction result for an elite MS67 plus red example. That dramatic range is what makes the 1955D Lincoln Wheat Penny such an exciting coin to investigate, and why every collector should look closely before placing an old 1955D penny back into a jar. Value disclaimer: market values change with grade, certification, color designation, variety, surface quality, authenticity, and actual auction results. A normal circulated 1955D Lincoln Wheat Penny should not automatically be considered a hundreds or thousands of dollars coin. The highest prices generally apply to exceptional, professionally graded, high quality, rare variety, or otherwise special examples. The values and auction figures mentioned here are reference market information rather than guaranteed selling prices. Always compare the individual coin with current professional price guides and verified auction results before making a buying or selling decision. Next up, the 1957D Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck at the Denver Mint during the final years of the classic wheat cent series, and today it continues to attract collectors who appreciate original surfaces, sharp details, strong color, and exceptional preservation. The coin carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, while the reverse displays the famous wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. The small d mint mark identifies the Denver Mint. According to PCGS, the 1957D had a reported mintage of more than 1.05 billion pieces, with a standard weight of 3.11 grams, a diameter of 19 millimeters, and a composition of 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc. But here is where the story becomes especially interesting. While huge numbers were produced, finding one today with truly outstanding uncirculated preservation is a completely different challenge. The history behind this penny makes it even more fascinating. The 1957D appeared only 1 year before the wheat reverse design ended in 1958, making it part of the final chapter of one of America's most recognizable coin series. Victor David Brenner's Lincoln design had already become a legendary part of American coinage, and by the late 1950s, millions of Americans were carrying these cents in their pockets every day. The Denver Mint produced an enormous quantity of 1957D cents for everyday commerce, but decades of circulation dramatically changed the condition of most surviving examples. Coins that spent years in pockets, cash registers, jars, and bags commonly developed scratches, marks, discoloration, and loss of original luster. That is why an exceptionally preserved 1957D can stand apart from ordinary examples. For collectors, the date and D mint mark are only the beginning. The real excitement comes when the coin combines the correct date and mint mark with an impressive uncirculated grade, attractive original color, clean surfaces, and strong overall eye appeal. One of the most important features to examine is the coin's condition. When collectors describe a 1957D as uncirculated, they are looking for evidence that the coin never experienced normal commercial wear. Original mint luster, crisp lettering, well-defined wheat ears, sharp Lincoln details, and clean fields can all contribute to a premium appearance. Copper color is also extremely important. Professional grading services commonly distinguish between brown, and red examples, because original red coloration can dramatically influence collector interest at the highest grades. PCGS lists separate 1957D varieties for brown, and red coins, demonstrating how much importance the market places on preservation and color. If your 1957D has bright original copper red color, attractive luster, and remarkably clean surfaces, it can become far more interesting than a typical circulated wheat penny. This is exactly why collectors carefully inspect old coin collections for coins that may have survived decades with unusually strong preservation. The market history of the 1957D also shows why condition matters so much. A normal example should not automatically be described as a $1,000 coin simply because it is old, but exceptional certified examples can command impressive premiums. PCGS records an auction result of $6,600 for a 1957D graded MS67 plus red, sold by Stack's Bowers in May 2019. Heritage Auctions also recorded a 1957D graded MS67 red PCGS selling for $164 in January 2025, illustrating how certification, grade, color, eye appeal, and the specific marketplace can all affect the realized price. These results show the extraordinary difference between an ordinary vintage penny and a top-quality collectible example. In other words, the greatest value is concentrated in the finest survivors. When a coin reaches an elite certified grade, even a date with a large original mintage can become highly competitive among registry collectors and specialists searching for superior examples. There is another reason serious collectors pay attention to the 1950-70, the possibility of finding an exceptional survivor among ordinary-looking old coins. A coin can remain unnoticed for decades simply because most people see only the denomination and date rather than examining the preservation. Imagine discovering a 1950-70 with nearly flawless surfaces, strong original luster, attractive red coloration, and unusually sharp details. That is the kind of coin that can deserve professional evaluation. PCGS auction data confirms that the finest examples can reach substantially higher prices than typical pieces, with the 1950-70 MS67 plus red record reaching $6,600. There are also specialized 1950-70 pieces with unusual striking errors that have brought hundreds of dollars at auction, although error coins are a separate category from a normal uncirculated example. For this reason, collectors should examine both sides carefully, paying close attention to the mint mark, lettering, Lincoln's portrait, wheat stalks, rim, color, luster, and any unusual characteristics. When we talk about the current market value of a 1950-70 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the most important message is that value exists across a very wide range, depending on grade and certification. Ordinary circulated examples generally remain modestly priced, while attractive uncirculated pieces can move into stronger collector territory. Certified high-grade red examples can reach hundreds of dollars, and the finest known or near-finest examples have demonstrated the potential to reach into the thousands. PCGS currently identifies the 1950-70 red auction record at $6,600 for an MS67 Plus example, while its auction price records also show the importance of grade-specific results. Therefore, if your coin is described as very uncirculated, do not simply look at a generic online listing and assume that number applies to your coin. The exact grade, color designation, surface quality, originality, and professional certification can make a major difference. A high-quality example with strong eye appeal is the kind of coin that deserves closer attention in today's collector market. And this is where the hunt becomes exciting for anyone watching this video. Before you spend, trade, clean, or casually sell a 1950-70 wheat penny, take a moment to inspect it under good lighting. Never clean the coin because cleaning can damage the original surface and reduce collector appeal. Look at Lincoln's cheek and jaw, the fields around his portrait, the lettering, and the wheat stalks on the reverse. Check whether the original mint luster is still present and whether the copper color looks naturally preserved. Then examine the tiny D below the date to confirm the Denver Mint issue. If the coin appears exceptionally sharp and virtually untouched, professional authentication and grading may be worth considering. A certified grade can give collectors and buyers a much clearer understanding of what they are looking at, especially when the coin appears to be in the upper uncirculated range. The market evidence proves that premium 1950-70 examples can attract serious attention, so a truly outstanding coin should never be dismissed simply because more than $1 billion were originally struck. Finally, the 1950-70 Lincoln Wheat Penny represents exactly why coin collecting remains such an exciting treasure hunt. This is a small 1-cent coin with a huge story behind it, connecting American history, the Denver Mint, Victor David Brenner's famous Lincoln design, and the final years of the classic wheat reverse series. The 1950-70 may have been produced in enormous numbers, but exceptional preservation is what can transform an ordinary-looking old penny into a desirable collectible. The documented auction history shows that superior certified examples can reach hundreds and even thousands of dollars, with the top recorded 1950-70 red example reaching $6,600. So if you have one in unusually uncirculated condition, give it the attention it deserves. Check the date, confirm the D, study the surfaces and color, protect the original condition, and consider professional grading if the coin appears exceptional. That little 1950-70 penny could be a fascinating piece of American history. And for collectors, the right combination of grade, color, preservation, and eye appeal is what can turn a simple 1-cent coin into a highly sought-after treasure. Thanks for watching.